Now, what's also inspiring is over a year back, Chicago Innovation and Accenture formed a partnership. Basically, we worked jointly in order to launch a program called Innovation in Action. Our vision here has been to pave the way to improve the quality and equality of people's lives in the cities where they work, creating sustainable future for all. And the aim of the program has been to open up the doors for innovators to ideate against the biggest local challenges by galvanizing city leaders, empowering civic minded innovators, and collaborating with social impact partners. And Luke and Cassidy, both of you have been the co leads on this program, on this Innovation in Action program. But Luke, what attracted you to partner with Accenture for this program?
Well, lots of reasons, Shivani. And in addition to, including the opportunity to get to work more with you and Cassidy and a handful of other folks at Accenture, I'd say there's three specific things. One is, Accenture's very long time focus on innovation. We've been kindred spirits, I think, since we became partners years ago, even before Innovation in Action, because of our shared focus on innovation and helping others solve challenges and needs through unique solutions. So the focus on innovation would be. The second is Accenture's civic commitment to Chicago. For a very long time, Accenture has been very involved in civic affairs in the city. And I know from leadership like Jim Coleman and lots of other folks are really engaged with lots of boards and lots of nonprofits and lots of great organizations. So we knew from the get-go that Accenture would be lockstep with us in really trying to do a lot to galvanize the civic communities in the city. And then the third really is the team and the brainpower of Accenture's consultants and staff to really lead these ideation sessions. The heart and soul of Innovation in Action are the ideation sessions that bring together, each time we've done one of these, like 175 people will RSVP, and we'll have all of these breakout rooms. You need a lot of people to herd all these cats and manage this process and go from what's usually 500 unique ideas, distill that down to 10 key concepts, present it back to the clients. And Accenture has been a phenomenal leader in that process.
Thanks for that shout out, Luke. But what kind of support have you got from local officials for this program?
Well, and that's what's great too, is really from the get-go, this was endorsed by the mayor's office, and specifically Deputy Mayor Samir Mayakar. We presented this idea to him, and he loved it and connected us with some other folks. It's also led to a nice partnership with World Business Chicago and their CEO, Michael Fastnet, and the rest of his team. In fact, they were the client of the last session that we did, which was focused on supporting Black and Brown businesses in the Chicago region. And so through the mayor's office, through World Business Chicago, we've connected with different city leaders. What was kind of fun, actually, was that Mayor Lightfoot herself Zoom bombed us during the last ideation session. And she said, I'm rooting for you, looking forward to seeing all of your solutions today.
Yeah, and then I just build upon that. I'd be remiss not to mention Civic Consulting Alliance and the great partnership that they've had as we've launched all of the sessions and the three big topics over the last year. So also, I think pulling them in early was super helpful in kind of steering us and helping us focus on the most pressing needs.
And Cassidy, there were some pretty interesting problems through these sessions that you tried to tackle in Chicago. Can you share some of those, please?
Yeah, definitely. So the first one that we kind of galvanized around was a little under a year ago. We were still in the throes of COVID at the time. And so we were looking at one of our biggest revenue drivers in the city, which is McCormick Place, the largest convention center in North America. And, they were trying to rethink what their business and experience looked like, as they could no longer have 100,000 person events in person that brought all that tourism and business to the city. And so we partnered with them to explore, what is the future of MPEA and their organization? How can we look at hybrid events and different experiences or ways to use their campus down there by McCormick Place differently? So that was our first session. That was great. We had a lot of enthusiastic people that came and helped us brainstorm, what other uses we might be able to bring together people in that area for. And then in September, we were lucky enough to partner with the CTA, the Chicago Transit Authority, and examine the future of ridership. And so with, the decline in ridership accelerated due to COVID over the past 2 years, what does that look like in the future, and how they might need to change their experience or technology as they're thinking about their future riders? And so we've honed in on one specific idea that they want to move forward with, and we're in the process of working together to shape that and start building out that idea and concept, which is exciting. And then most recently, as Luke referenced, last month, we worked with World Business Chicago and how we could support Black and Brown owned small businesses in the city. And so we are currently synthesizing all those ideas and are really excited about the opportunities we have to explore there, and kind of helping support all those organizations.
Luke, anything else you'd like to add to that?
Well, Cassidy, as always, excellent job explaining it to everyone. I guess one thing to build on there is that one thing that I think is also key to innovation in action is the timeliness of it. So we purposely pick topics that have been either caused by COVID or exacerbated by COVID, and have yet to really receive a lot of problem-solving attention. So, look at the first two examples. McCormick Place, for years, it was so used to just this constant, hundreds of thousands of people coming to Chicago. No problem. Just make sure the lights are on, bring people in. It'll be great. And then all of a sudden it stopped completely. And no one had ever planned for this, right? I mean, no one planned for the pandemic, and people didn't know what to do. So it was bringing people together in those moments, to steal the innovation moment tagline. The moments really matter. It's when people are faced with this daunting challenge and don't know what to do. And we bring together hundreds of innovation-minded professionals to come together to think through different new solutions that haven't been thought of before. How
powerful there. Cassidy, I hear that you have been so inspired by what you've started in Chicago with Chicago Innovation and with Luke and the team, that you've actually expanded this to other cities beyond Chicago.
Yes, that is right. Although we would love to have Chicago Innovation and Luke in all of our cities, but we have taken this. It's shown up differently in a few other of our Accenture local markets, but some really exciting work that we're kind of digging into across the board. So in Atlanta, we partnered with the Drawdown Georgia initiative and worked with them to kind of tangentially figure out how they can accelerate their progress toward their net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. So that was a big initiative in Georgia. And so we've been partnering with some of our big clients there and the local civic organizations to think through that and really help them come up with the next steps in how they're going to achieve that. In Los Angeles, we have been working with the I Am Angel Foundation and looking at how we can help expand the program and that they already had focused on the LA Public School District students with their STEAM learning and robotics labs, and how we can not only connect those students to hear about potential opportunities, but how can we then expand their program to skill them up in those types of employment opportunities, and then actually match them to apprentice and employment opportunities. So kind of taking that funnel of not only exposing them to the potential opportunities, but skilling them and matching them to a job. So that's really exciting there. And then we're just starting to dig in New York City with the new mayor's team and looking at potential healthcare equity and access and what type of opportunities we might be able to look at and explore in New York City. So a couple tidbits there. And as we kind of dig into the second year and expand, we're excited to look at other potential markets within the US and Canada as well.
Now, I'm sure, Cassidy, this mustn't have been easy, right? Probably had some early hurdles, some challenges in launching this kind of a social program, right? We're using innovation for social good. How did you overcome those?
Yeah, I think the big one that sticks out in my mind, if I think back to a year ago, Luke, and I would say we're probably still getting, figuring out how to get it exactly right. But on the back end of our big ideation sessions, we have this great session, we bring together hundreds of people, we have all these great ideas, but the activation of that and making sure we have the right partners on the back end that can actually dig in and implement some of those is probably the challenge. And so, as a net new initiative and working together with these organizations, planning it and creating it the first times, we're still kind of tapping in and exploring exactly how to get that right. But dedicating time on the back end to really honing in on those concepts and then bringing in potential other partners to help drive that forward has been key to making things happen. I don't know, Luke, what else would you add on that?
I completely agree. And it's innovation is hard, right? The process, it is time intensive, it's resource intensive, it pulls you away from what you're currently doing. It's inherently risky. And so, yeah, to your point, you need to have the right kind of structure in place. They need to be innovation ready, I guess, as a phrase to use. So that's one thing. But in addition to that, Cassie, you might recall, this was kind of funny early on. We had to overcome what I would call the it sounds too good to be true concern when we were pitching innovation and action to these potential client partners, because here we would come in and say, okay, here's the deal. So you've got Accenture, you know about them, global, phenomenal company, you got Chicago Innovation, deep roots in the city, you've got the Civic Consulting Alliance, great civic backbone, you got the mayor's office involved. And what we would like to do for you, MPEA or CTA, is have our team and bring together, 100 to 200 people to solve your toughest problems and give you a great set of solutions. And they'd say, well, how much is that going to cost? You say, oh, it doesn't cost anything. And then it's like, well, what's the catch? And there is no catch. It's just we're all mission-driven organizations desiring to do social good. But I think nevertheless, sometimes it did seem too good to be true. So it needs a little bit of explaining. But then once we do that, everyone's on board.
It's probably a good problem to have, right, Luke? So, Luke, what through this engagement and through the sessions you've done, what do you find is the best way to for people to engage in this program? How can they best help and best engage in this program?
Yeah, it's super simple. Just go to the Chicago Innovation website, sign up for our newsletter and mailing list, and then you'll be invited to future innovation and action sessions, which we do, a few times a year. And it's that simple.
Cassidy, anything else from your end in terms of how can people best and not just necessarily in the program of innovation and action? Any thoughts, any ideas on what can folks do in order to use innovation for social good?
Yeah, I think just look for opportunities and how you can kind of build that into any project or initiative you're working on and doing, right? There's always a responsibility lens, whether that's looking at the people side or the sustainability side, any of the environmental pieces, right? And kind of taking a pause to think about where there are opportunities to fold that in, and are you hitting and kind of focused in on that side of the responsible business thing, like we started at the beginning, right? So I also would just encourage people, like, small steps together make big steps. And so anything you can do to add that in to work that's happening, and just if every initiative has a piece of responsibility in it, then we'll all kind of progress in the right direction together.
That's great. Luke, are there other programs at Chicago Innovation that help use innovation to further social good?
Yes. So we, at our heart, our vision statement is innovation is for everyone. And that really is the mindset that we have and propels all of the work that Chicago Innovation does. But specifically, there's 4 programs that really are focused on this. And one is the Chicago Student Invention Convention, where we're teaching innovation to K through 8th grade students throughout schools all across the city and the suburbs. And it's think of it like the science fair, but it's an invention fair. And it starts with kids as early as 6 and as old as 14, thinking about problems in their own lives. And we take them through an innovation curriculum, and they go through the whole innovation journey. It's probably a similar journey that Accenture takes its clients on. It's problem identification, it's doing some research, it's talking to, customers or potential customers and gathering feedback and iterating and designing a prototype and testing that. And, oh no, it didn't work, but what did we learn? And using those learnings, and then ultimately ends in each student has an invention prototype, and they compete against each other at this big citywide competition. And then 50 of those students go on to compete at the national invention convention. So a big program for kids. Then on the complete flip side, we have a program focused on older adults who also are kind of often overlooked when it comes to innovation and entrepreneurship. You often don't think about people in their 70s and 80s starting new companies, but it happens. And actually, there's a need too where a lot of older adults are looking to reinvent themselves. And how do I do that? And so we pair them with younger adult leaders for reciprocal co-mentoring programs where they're mentoring each other in these co-mentoring relationships. And then there's two other mentoring programs we operate. One's called the Women's Mentoring Co-op, which is to support and grow and advance women in innovation-focused careers. And we started with 25 women. We now have over 800 women who've been a part of this. And actually, Accenture has been a great partner of this effort, including some of our mentors and mentees and leading some sessions for our Women's Mentoring Co-op group. And then lastly is a new program called The Ladder, which is focused on Black and Latina innovators, primarily at existing organizations who are really just looking to climb the corporate ladder. And sometimes when you look up the corporate ladder, it's not as diverse as you'd want it to be. So this program is focused on supporting Black and Latina professionals gain access to knowledge and resources and connections and networks, and almost even providing a playbook for how to navigate one's career forward. And collectively, innovation is for everyone. It's really about, the workforce of the future, hoping that it really is as diverse from a leadership standpoint as the diverse population truly is today.
This is so inspirational. Everything, Luke, that you and the Chicago Innovation team are doing, Cassidy, some of the programs that you mentioned, extremely inspirational over here, and definitely no doubt that absolutely innovation can be used for social good.